Hello everybody! I have not made a video in a really long time. I think the last video that I uploaded, I want to say was when I did my Table for One review of The Great Muppet Caper with the podcast Breakfast All Day with Christy Lemire and Alonso Duralde. And that was a lot of fun to do. Today I wanted to do something a little differently. I wanted to talk about Stephen King. As you can see, I am a huge Stephen King fan. I have almost every single one of his books in hardcover, and I have them organized in publication order. So Carrie is the first one, and right now I have You Like It Darker as the last, because I don't have Never Flinch. At least not yet, I don't. Stephen King is my favorite author that I've ever read. I remember I read my first Stephen King story when I was 11 years old. I checked out the short story collection Skeleton Crew at the library because it had the short story of The Monkey on it, about the possessed, cymbal-banging monkey toy. And that was a very effective short story, especially when I was 11 years old. It was pretty creepy. But yeah, I've grown to just really appreciate his writing so much. He's such an amazing technical writer also, and characterization is just amazing. His world building, so many great things that I just love about him. And I've been collecting his hardcovers since I was a senior in high school, and I've gotten almost all of them. There are some hardcovers that are really difficult to find, but I'm happy with what I have so far. But anyways, today I wanted to do a video showing my top 5 favorite Stephen King novels. And this is just the novels. This is not short stories. This is not novellas. Nothing. I wanted to do my top 5. So I went through my entire bookshelf and I said, okay, what are the 5 Stephen King books that if somebody asked me, hey, give me 5 Stephen King books to read, these are going to be the ones that I suggest people read. And it was really hard narrowing it down to 5 because there's so many that I really wanted to include. But anyways, I'm going to go 5 to 1, and if you are a fan of Stephen King, or if you've read any of these books or any of his books, let me know. Leave a comment. Tell me what you think of the picks that I picked out. So I'm going to start with number 5. Number 5, this is, I think, a classic. This is one that I think it's one of his most famous books. There are times when I think that the film adaptation is more famous than the actual book, because the image of one of the characters is always everywhere. Anyways, number 5, we have The Shining. This could be considered a first edition. This is a first edition later pressing, and it's also a book club edition, but this is still really terrific. This book is fantastic. I read it when I was in high school, and then I read it again 4 years ago, and it's such a great read. The characters are just fantastic. Jack Torrance is one of the best protagonists I think that Stephen King wrote in this period of his career. This was only his 3rd published novel. Carrie came out first in 1974, and then Salem's Lot in 75. This was published in, I believe, 77. Yeah, this is just great. I think the thing that really gets me about this one is just the foreboding sense of isolation, just out in the middle of nowhere in this hotel in Colorado in the winter. It's really creepy, especially like that level of isolation can really drive somebody mad. And of course, Jack being a recovering alcoholic and just trying to be better for his family. It's also one of King's more personal stories. But this is a extremely effective horror story. It's kind of haunted house-esque. As good as the book is, I also love the Kubrick movie. I know Stephen King does not like it. But I think the movie it's a bad adaptation of the book. I'm not going to argue that. But as a horror movie, I think that The Shining is as effective and perfect a horror movie as you can get. That movie still scares the ever-living out of me to this day. And I watch it at least once a year. And so yeah, got The Shining at number 5. Yeah. At number 4, this is one that you don't really hear a lot of people talk about much when it comes to saying that, oh, this is one of their favorites. It's also an unusual story in the way that it's written, and I'll explain that. And also on a more personal level for me, this is actually my mother's favorite Stephen King story, and I believe it was also one of my grandmother's favorites as well. And I finally read it for the first time a few years ago, and I was like, yeah, that's pretty dang great. Dolores Claiborne. Dolores Claiborne is one of my favorite Stephen King characters. I just adore her. She takes no shit from anybody. Just the whole thing of like, did she kill Vera Donovan? Because you know that she killed her husband years ago, and the guy had it coming. But this is just such a fantastic book. It's really unique in the way that it's written, because it's written as if it's just one long testimony. No chapters, no anything. It's just Dolores telling her story to the police in an interrogation. But it's very effective. I haven't seen the movie yet, the one with Kathy Bates and Jennifer Jason Leigh, but I really do need to see that at some point. I'm kind of surprised I haven't, because I love this book so much. But yeah, this is a fantastic read. It's a different kind of story for him. It's much more of a psychological drama and also a psychological thriller, but it's such a fantastic read. It is just, like I said, it's one of those ones that you don't really hear people talk about it really like high up on their lists, but just read this one. It is just so good. Number 3, this one is two other ones I have are a little bit of gimmies, and this one, this is actually, screw it, I'm just going to show you. Pet Sematary. Pet Sematary is, for my money, this is Stephen King's darkest story. This is, at least the ones that I've read, this is a bleak, just dread-filled, I mean, this is as bleak and depressing as you can get, because it's about grief. It's about losing a loved one, in this case, a child. And it's also about man's secret desire to cheat death. This hits really hard, especially if you read it after you've lost somebody. I read this for the very first time not long after I lost my grandmother on my dad's side to brain cancer. I read this several months after she died for the first time. And boy, does it hit a punch when you read it, when you read that, especially after losing somebody you love that's so cherished and so close and dear to your heart. But this is just such a phenomenal book. It is also, I think, the closest thing that Stephen King has written, with the exception of one other book, and we'll get to that, that is almost like kind of like a nihilistic tale, because this really is, because without giving too much away, the end of this book is just Louis Creed attempting something that he keeps doing, expecting a different result. He's gone insane. And it's just like, what's the point in doing any of this? Like I said, and I'm making this book sound like a barrel of fun, but it's very, very effective. It's very scary. It is also, I think, the only time that Stephen King himself has actually scared himself with one of his books. He almost didn't publish this book because he thought he was going too far, because minus the supernatural elements of this book, a lot of stuff that happened in this book is autobiographical. His youngest son almost got hit by a truck at one point. He saved his son before that could happen. And then the cat in the book was based off of his daughter's cat at the time, Smucky. But anyways, the film version, I've only seen the 1989 one. I haven't seen the 2019 one. The 1918 one it's okay. It kind of captures a little bit of the dread and dreary qualities of the book. It just doesn't quite get there. But yeah, this is a bleak, borderline nihilistic, just masterstroke of writing. This is just phenomenal. Number 2, and I really had a hard time choosing between this and my number 1. Like, these top 2 were going like neck and neck for, do I want to make this one number 1 or number 2? But okay, number 2, and this is one of his more recent books. This book came out 12 years ago, and Stephen King rarely ever scares me, like legitimately, actually just like gets under my skin in a way that is really horrifying. He's only done it, really, I think, 3 times. He did it with Pet Sematary. And he did it with my number 1. And he most certainly did it with my number 2 pick. Revival. Oh my gosh. This book is like, you can see the lightning. This book is like a lightning strike to you. It is just, whew, man. It's really hard to talk about this, what's terrifying about this book, without getting super spoilery, and I don't want to do that. All I'll say is this basically is about the friendship and relationship between 2 men over the course of about 40 to almost 50 years, between Jamie Morton and Pastor Jacobs. Pastor Jacobs is one of Stephen King's best recent characters. He is fascinating. And just his obsession with electricity, and also trying to get to find out what is on the other side of death. It is, oh my gosh, this is one of those books. I started reading it about 10 years ago. I got about 10 pages in, and I put it aside just because, not because I didn't like it, but because I got distracted. And I finally picked it back up a few years ago, read it. I restarted it, and then I read it. It took me about a week And that's only because I would read it, and then when I was at work, I would listen to the audiobook as well. But uh, the last third of this book is, to say it scared the shit out of me is really an understatement. This is, especially if you have a lot of underlining existential fears, this is something that is really going to affect you. And how I said Pet Sematary is almost a borderline nihilistic story. This also, especially near the end, can get very trippy and also nihilistic, especially the last couple of lines of the book are just like, whoa. But, and I keep hoping that they're going to make this into a movie. Mike Flanagan was going to do it a few years ago. That would have been so perfect, because I feel like if anybody can do this book justice, it's him. But yeah, like I said, I don't really want to get into this one because of, I don't want to be spoilery or anything. I do actually, because of certain things in this book, it kind of makes me want to read Lovecraft, because from what, especially after I read it, I looked online to see what other people thought of it. This is a very Lovecraftian story by King. I wouldn't know because I haven't read any Lovecraft, but from what I've read about people talking about it, this one is. But please check this one out. It is one of his, this is it, for my money. I know it came out in 2014, but for my money, this is one of his masterpieces. And my number one favorite Stephen King story of all time. I thought for sure maybe it might be Lovecraft Revival. But I realized more and more, my favorite Stephen King story of all time, and if I told somebody you could only read one Stephen King book, only one, it would be Salem's Lot. This is a perfect horror novel. This is a perfect vampire novel. This is just, I love the characters. I love Ben Mears. I love Mark. I love and I think that, Straker and Barlow are such great villains. There are passages in this book that still to this day have not left my head. The Glick kid outside the window saying, "Let me in," and the confrontation at the end with Barlow, and it's just, my gosh, this is one of my all-time favorite books, period. I just adore this one. I really like the 1979 miniseries that Tobe Hooper did. It's 2 parts. Even though I don't like what they did with Barlow, they made him this Nosferatu type character, which in the book he talks and everything. But it's just a little, I know why they did it, but still, I think that it would have been better just to have him be an actual character, not just like a Nosferatu looking thing. But, oh my gosh, Salem's Lot. This literally is just like one of those books that it hooks you right from the beginning. It opens up with Mark and Ben Mears, and they're just on the run from vampires, and it's just how did we get here? And it's just such a great read. It was only his second published novel, but for me, this is as good as Stephen King gets, really. He's written a lot of great books, the ones I've talked about, but he's also written other great books. But for me, my money, Salem's Lot is it might not be his absolute best if you want to talk subjectively, but as far as favorites, this one is my favorite. I just adore Salem's Lot. This is just a fantastic read. Please, if you love Stephen King, if you're interested in Stephen King, you haven't read any of his books, or if you're into vampires at all, please go out, either get this from your library, go to a used bookstore and find it. Just read Salem's Lot. And I'll do a quick recap. My top 5 Stephen King. Number 5, I have The Shining. At number 4, Dolores Claiborne. At number 3, Pet Sematary. Number 2, Revival. And number 1, I have Salem's Lot. I'll go through a couple of honorable mentions real quick. Misery. Actually have it right here. Misery. This was in my top 5, but then the more I thought about it, this would be in my top 10 with no question. But yeah, Misery. It's some of these books, like, you don't really have to tell people like they're great. People, especially if you've read it, you know they're great. But Misery, this is an honorable mention. Just great book. Another one. Oh, this is another one that I would say would be in my top 10. Bag of Bones. This is a very different book. This is more of a gothic story than an actual horror, although there are elements of horror. I actually saw the miniseries for this when it first aired, before I read the book, and then I read the book when I was in high school. It's excellent. And some people don't like it. Some people are like, I didn't really care that much for it. I really like this one a lot. And then, what other ones would I say? It's up there, but I don't want to get up and grab it. But another one that I would say is in my top 10 is It. It's an 1,100-page book, but it just flies by. The only thing that I think should have been cut out from the book is that scene. That nobody wants that in the book. That was completely unnecessary, and it adds nothing to the story at all. It's just gross. But other than that, it's a fantastic read. The miniseries is fine, and I really like both of the movies that came out that Andy Muschietti did in 2017 and 2019. Both very good. And then 2 other ones that I'll say are also among my top 10. Carrie, his first book, is also great. For a first book, I think it's very good. He got better as a writer, but I think that it's still an extremely effective story, and it set him off on this over 50-year career for a reason. And then another one, this one, I don't have a hardback. I have the individual releases of it, but my last, I guess, number 10 or whatever, honorable mention, would be The Green Mile. The Green Mile is just, I mean, especially like the movie, I think, is one of those cases where it's just as good as the book. Yeah, The Green Mile is just, it's great. It's sad. It rips your heart out at the end, but it's so effective. But anyways, I wanted to do this really quick just to see, I wanted to get this out to the world. I'm on a Stephen King kick lately. But yeah, just if you guys have read Stephen King, if you like Stephen King, let me know what your favorite books of his are. Just leave a comment below, and catch you guys later.